The hotel room door opened without a knock. 3 men in expensive suits walked in with the confidence of predators who'd never known fear. But tonight, they were about to meet someone who would change that forever. Subscribe for stories like this, and like the video. The biggest one, Vincent, sat down across from Muhammad Ali and placed a leather briefcase on the table. The sound of the clasps clicking open echoed like gunshots. Inside was more cash than most people see in 10 lifetimes. Stack after stack of crisp hundreds. $5 million, champ, Vincent said, his voice carrying quiet menace that had silenced witnesses and ended careers. All you have to do is kiss the canvas in round 8 tomorrow night. This was Vincent, the most feared mob boss on the East Coast. The man who owned judges, politicians, and police commissioners. 47 professional fighters had taken his money over the past 15 years. Every single one had done exactly what Vincent told them to do. But Muhammad Ali wasn't like other fighters, and what happened in the next 37 minutes would leave Vincent questioning everything he thought he knew about power, fear, and the price of a man's soul. Ali studied the money for a long moment. $5 million. More than he'd made in his last 3 fights combined. All for 30 seconds of acting in round 8. All for one perfectly timed fall. One decision to stay down when the referee counted to 10. Vincent leaned back, confident in his offer. In his world, everyone had a price. Pride was expensive, but survival was priceless. You know who I am, champ? Vincent asked. I know who you are, Ali replied quietly. Then you know I don't make offers twice, and I don't take no for an answer. Ali looked up from the money, his eyes meeting Vincent's. Vincent smiled. You're Muhammad Ali, the greatest heavyweight who ever lived. But tomorrow night, you're going to dance your way to the canvas and stay there. Ali stood up slowly, his 6'3" frame unfolding. Vincent's 2 associates tensed, hands moving toward their weapons. But Ali's movement wasn't aggressive. Let me tell you who I am, Vincent, Ali said, his voice growing stronger. I'm the man who gave up 3.5 years of my career because I wouldn't compromise what I believe in. The United States government tried to make me do something I didn't want to do. They stripped me of my title. They threatened me with 5 years in prison. And you know what I told them? Vincent's confident smile began to fade. I told them no. I told the President of the United States no. I told the most powerful government in the world that they couldn't make me do anything against my conscience. And they couldn't. Ali began pacing around the room.
You think you scare me, Vincent? I've been threatened by experts. The FBI followed me for years.
I've stood in front of crowds who wanted to see me destroyed. And I'm still here. Still Muhammad Ali. Vincent's face had gone from confident to concerned. You want to know what real power is? Ali asked, stopping in front of Vincent. Real power isn't making people do things because they're afraid of you. Real power is living by your principles, even when the whole world is against you. Real power is saying no to people who think they can buy anything, including your soul. The room went silent, except for Vincent's labored breathing. You've corrupted 47 fighters. Ali continued. 47 men who sold their integrity for your money. But every one of those men has to live with what they did. Can you say the same thing, Vincent? Vincent's mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time in 30 years, he was speechless. Ali walked back to the table and looked down at the briefcase full of money. This is a lot of cash, Vincent. Enough to change most people's lives, but you know what it can't buy? Vincent managed to find his voice. What? It can't buy back your soul once you've sold it. It can't buy you the respect of people who matter. It can't buy you the ability to face yourself in the mirror with honor. And it sure as hell can't buy Muhammad Ali. Ali reached down and slammed the briefcase shut with a sound like a thunderclap. I don't care if you've got $100 million in there. I don't care if you've got 100 men with guns waiting outside. I don't care if you think you own this city, this sport, or anything else. You don't own me. Nobody owns me. Nobody has ever owned me. And nobody ever will. Vincent's hands were shaking now, not with anger, but with something he hadn't felt since he was a child. Genuine fear, not fear of physical harm, but fear of meeting someone who was truly beyond his power. "You can't be serious," Vincent stammered. "Do you know what happens to people who say no to me?" Ali's response was so unexpected, so completely outside Vincent's experience, that it would haunt him for the rest of his life. Muhammad Ali began to laugh. Not a nervous laugh or a mocking laugh, but the deep, genuine laughter of a man who found the situation genuinely amusing. "You want to threaten me, Vincent? Go ahead, but understand something first. I've been threatened by people who could actually follow through on their threats. The United States government had the power to put me in prison, and I told them no anyway. You've got what? A few men with guns? Some connections to judges and politicians? That's nothing compared to what I've already faced and survived." Ali walked to the window and looked out at the city below. "You know what's funny, Vincent? You think you're powerful because people are afraid of you. But I know something you don't know." "What's that?" "Real strength comes from having something bigger than yourself to believe in. My faith teaches me that Ali is watching everything I do. Every decision I make, every choice between right and wrong, every moment when I could take the easy path or the right path. You think your threats are scary? Try living every day knowing that God is judging your actions." Vincent was now visibly sweating despite the air conditioning in the room. His two associates looked confused and uncomfortable. They'd never seen their boss reduced to this state by anyone, least of all by someone who was refusing their offer instead of begging for mercy. Ali turned back to face Vincent. "But here's what I'm curious about, Vincent. What happens to you when you meet someone who isn't afraid? What happens to your power when you encounter someone who can't be bought or threatened or intimidated? What are you then?" The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Finally, Vincent spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want you to understand something. Every fighter you've corrupted, every match you've fixed, every time you've turned a sport into a lie, you've made the world a little bit smaller and a little bit uglier. But it doesn't have to be that way." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that you have a choice, just like I have a choice. You can keep being the man who destroys things, or you can start being the man who builds things up. You can keep making people afraid, or you can start earning their respect. You can keep buying people's souls, or you can start helping them find their dignity." Vincent stared at Ali as if seeing him for the first time. "You're asking me to change everything about who I am. I'm asking you to remember who you were before you became who you are. I'm asking you to think about the boy you used to be, before you decided that fear was more important than respect. I'm asking you to consider that maybe, just maybe, there's a better way to live." What happened next shocked everyone in the room, including Ali himself. Vincent began to cry. Not the angry tears of a frustrated man or the bitter tears of defeat, but the deep, soul-shaking tears of someone who'd been carrying a tremendous weight for so long that he'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. "I can't," Vincent whispered through his tears. "Do you know what I've done? Do you know the things I've been part of? There's no going back from that." Ali walked over and, to the complete amazement of Vincent's bodyguards, put his hand on the mob boss's shoulder. "Vincent, I want you to listen to me very carefully. My faith teaches me that Ali forgives anyone who truly repents, no matter what they've done. If God can forgive you, don't you think you can forgive yourself? Don't you think you can choose to be better?" Vincent looked up at Ali through his tears. "How? How do I even begin?" "You begin by making different choices. You begin by using your power to help instead of hurt. You begin by remembering that every person you meet is somebody's son or daughter, somebody's hope and dream. You begin by asking yourself, before you make any decision, will this make the world better or worse?" Vincent wiped his eyes and slowly stood up. "And if I say yes, if I try to change, then you'll have at least one person who believes you can do it. And the fight tomorrow, I'm going to fight as hard as I can, just like I always do. Because that's who I am. And maybe, if you're watching, you'll see what it looks like when someone refuses to compromise their principles, no matter what the cost. Vincent closed the briefcase and picked it up. As he walked toward the door, he stopped and turned back to Ali. "I've met presidents and kings," Vincent said quietly. "I've sat across from senators and generals, but I've never met anyone like you. You've met someone like me," Ali replied. "You just forgot that he was there." "Who?" "The man you used to be. The man you can be again." After Vincent and his men left, Ali sat alone in the hotel room for a long time. He thought about the choices that had defined his life, the principles that had cost him so much but given him even more. The next night, Muhammad Ali stepped into the ring and fought one of the greatest fights of his career. He won in the 12th round with a combination that left his opponent unconscious for 3 minutes. But the real victory had happened 24 hours earlier, in a hotel room where a man everyone feared had learned that there are some things in this world that can't be bought, threatened, or destroyed. Vincent never approached another fighter about fixing a fight. 3 months later, he quietly began using his connections to help build youth centers in neighborhoods where he'd once collected debts. Those close to him noticed a change. The fear in his eyes was replaced by something that looked like peace. Years later, when Vincent was dying of cancer, he asked his son to deliver a message to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali never spoke publicly about that night. When reporters asked about rumors of a large financial offer he'd turned down, he simply said, "Some things aren't for sale. Your integrity, your principles, your soul. Those things don't have a price tag." The story stayed secret for 37 years until Vincent's son revealed it in a book called The Man Who Found His Soul. It became a bestseller, not because of crime stories, but because of the redemption story at its heart. If this story moves you, remember that we all face moments when our principles are tested, when someone offers us something we want in exchange for something we are. The easy choice is usually the wrong choice. The right choice is usually the hard choice. But it's always worth making. Muhammad Ali knew that. Vincent learned it. And if a feared mob boss can find redemption through one honest conversation, then maybe there's hope for all of us to choose who we want to be, no matter who we've been. Subscribe for stories like this, and like the video.